Good Lord, that was seamless. It might even have worked. I don't actually know what's going on the live show. Anyway, if this is being recorded for posterior or something, welcome to our glorious Thursday night gaming. At the moment, we play all sorts of role-playing games on Thursday night. We are the Thursday Nighters. At the moment, we are running through some Age of Arthur set. Well, we were arguing about it. We were arguing about it in a very sort of civil, sort of convivial way just before we went live. Set about just late 5th century. So we're talking sort of 475, something around there. I don't have the calendar in front of me. So what is that? Is that early medieval, sub-Roman? Not Dark Ages, surely anymore. But it's a time when Rome has gone, and our heroes, for our story is that our heroes have been escorting, well, quite a portentous character, potentially in the future stories that are to come. Gwenhwyfar, sort of a princess of. Well, in fact, let me. I'm going to transition this all to the map, and then we'll just have a quick look at some of the characters that have been involved so far, and then we're going to dive headlong straight into a scene which our Lethin Ahmed may well. Let me just do. If I do I'm going to share an image. Here we go. Okay, get rid of that. Right. So we have gone from Urba Legionis up here, sort of Chesterish, down to Caerleon, down here, to meet, well, this king, the ruler of Siluria, King Caradoc, who theoretically Gwenhwyfar's father thought might prove useful in an alliance against the intervening Powys, which is burgeoning and causing all sorts of problems. He might have been better going north up to Reged. As it is, he looked south. And so our heroes have escorted Gwenhwyfar. Let me get Blethin onto. If I can find Blethin, I'll be under PC. Let's find Blethin and get Blethin onto. Oh, Blethin's gone a bit weird. I wonder if this will display. Apologies if it doesn't. Let's have a look here. What's happened to Blethin's card? Does that display? There it is. It displays now. Anyway, Blethin, you're on. So our three heroes, Kaznar ap Cartival, Bardic Ambassador King Agricola, Blethin ap Med, well, let's be honest, let's call it what he is. He's a shape-changing werewolf with some fey blood in him. And Decius Drusus, a battle commander and, I suspect, stoic philosopher. Just a lot of our last session was a huge battle where Powys, or a warband from Powys, headed south, and there was a great battle at the gates of Caerleon. And were it not for the intervention of our brave heroes, that would have been the end, perhaps, of Caerleon, or perhaps Caerleon might have fallen to Powys. As it is, it did not, and the militia held true, and, well, positioned and placed at the fore was King Caradoc's bodyguard, Marius Aemilius. Marius, not perhaps quite the sort of battle commander as Decius Drusus, but with his guidance, the battle was won. No sign of certain other characters who probably should have been there, including the commander, a General Maxin ap Ban, who I shall place at least onto the board so we can see him. There he is. He was drunk and not particularly available, or at least that's what he's claiming. He's not claiming anything, actually. He's just not around. But so it is. There was a great feast, or there is now a great feast. King Caradoc, who I think believes that Gwenhwyfar may well prove to be his bride. Gwenhwyfar has already indicated that she does not wish this. And so it is, there is a discussion about what will happen next. The feast is underway, or just has become underway. And what do we have here? Yes, let's add in another character. There was also a battle that took place, or it was a gladiatorial battle between Lupus Magnus, an arena fighter who has clearly similar blood to Blethin, and a gladiator called Tam, I think it was, who was defeated. So I think the plan, and where we are now, is we're in the Great Hall of King Caradoc. Gwenhwyfar is present, but is aloof. King Caradoc has been persuaded that perhaps another gladiatorial contest is in order and would be fit to take stock and to encourage others that Caerleon will hold in his name. It will be a celebration, if you like. And so it is. This has been persuaded that Lupus Magnus has been released from his stocks, has been brought to the main hall, and will fight Blethin ap Med in the Great Hall. Though actually, this is to be a demonstration fight, though no one else knows it. The sole purpose, as far as I could tell, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, the plan gets a bit hazy at this point, is that King Caradoc will be slain instead of our brave gladiators, and perhaps Marius Aemilius might take control. I think Decius has taken Marius Aemilius off and away to get him out of the way, effectively, possibly to go and sort out and tell Maxen ap Ban that he's no longer general of the Silurian armies, leaving our gladiators, inverted commas. I'll leave Gwenhwyfar over here, and Kasnar is looking on and controlling events in the hall. So I think that's where we are. King Caradoc is looking forward to the battle. The wine is starting to flow. He's already had a couple of cups. The food is going to be brought out, I think, after this exciting fight. There are warriors in the hall, keeping a careful eye. But it is at this moment that King Caradoc calls over for Istan. And let me just minimize that. Istan, he says. Istan, to my side. So it is. Istan comes to his side. There he is. And he sort of clumps along and then stands by him, towering over him, even probably towering over his sort of throne seat that he's sitting on, looking over and he glowers at people. He has a blade on his side, at his side, and he says, "Istan, I hear you fought well in the battle. Well done. My friends here are having a show fight, a gladiatorial combat. Keep a good eye," he says.
Yeah. So just to maybe give a bit of additional context. So Kasna convinced Lupus that he would kill the king.
That's right.
And be freed, or at least get his revenge by killing him. And Blethin is just there to help him get this done without it looks like we somehow arranged it.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of this thing.
It's going to be down to absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're brought in. The two of you are brought in, and there is a great clearing is made in the centre of the hall. Sort of tables sort of surround you. There are a smattering of guards, sort of at attention, with spear and shield, sort of forming not quite a wall. There's not quite enough of them, but they're forming sort of a vague proximity, I suppose, to the gladiatorial battle that is about to commence. And then with Istan standing by Caradoc and keeping a careful eye, Caradoc calls. He says, "Oh, welcome, gladiators. And what do you think? What do you think, my brother?" he says as he calls. "What do you think, Gwyn? Do you think, who will win, do you think, my brother?" And you can see another noble sort of sat in amongst the throng. He's just glaring at Caradoc and just says, This is most irregular, brother, doing this at this time. Have you not seen enough fighting for one day? More blood? Is that what you really need? Do we need this?" says Gwyn, sort of with a sort of a cup in his hand as he sort of glowers and looks around the room. "But of course," and then he stops and says, "But of course, my brother, you are the king. Let us enjoy this battle. Let us see how it plays out, shall we?" And he goes quiet, and the crowd, the sort of throng of sort of nobles and the sort of Illuminati, those who are in control and power in this city, sort of they're sort of looking between the king and his as yet unknown to you, looks to be a younger brother, steely-eyed.
How convenient that he just appeared right now.
It is, and he was nowhere to be seen, and he was nowhere to be seen during the battle either.
Yeah. It's a so-called brother ex machina. Yeah.
Could be. And he looks weather-worn, as if he's been travelling.
That might explain a lot. Yeah. So, but
yeah. Well, so with these two developments, the battle, or at least the gladiators, are brought in. Blethyn, you are brought in, and you are brought in with. That's interesting. Well, the live stream doesn't seem to have put us live for some reason. I don't really know why. Oh well, not to worry. I'm going to stop that. There we are. Just make a noise. Perhaps we're not live then. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, not to worry. Okay. Anyway. Blethyn, you are at one side of the hall, and you can see Lupus at the other, eyeing you warily. And you see Lupus is looking around the room. He's obviously already clocked what he thinks he should be his target. Although there is Istan kind of in the way as well. He's sort of seen this hulking presence by his chair. I suppose the fight master will say, "Let the battle commence," and there's a roar from the crowd. And Lupus starts to work around you slightly, sort of eyeing you up, but also looking across to where the king is.
Mm-hmm. So,
I shall support that. I'll make sure that I'm staying between the king and him. So
yeah.
Whatever goes wrong is a very good path.
And so just in case, do I remember that I saw the king's bodyguard really in the battle?
So,
Like the impressive figure he is.
well, yeah, exactly. Did you? That's a really good question. Make me a maybe a notice check, I think.
Yeah.
And let's just see if you were observant enough to see, because he's not a very mistakable figure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's continuous.
But there was a huge throng. It was a big battle. It's hard to say whether he was there or not.
Yeah. So yeah, but I guess I'm standing next to the king somehow.
Yes, you can be. You can be as an honoured guest, definitely.
Yeah. So
I think
because
Gwennifer is sat next to him.
yeah, because in that case, I would just maybe be also close to the bodyguard and then loudly remember that I can't remember seeing him somewhere in the battle. And actually, I was outside fighting.
You didn't see him. You didn't see Istan.
Yeah, I want to provoke Istan, so he looks over to me. That's the whole deal of that.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, no, that might well work. Well, let's see how you do. As the two gladiators are wheeling round, make me a provoke if you like against his. It'll be against his willpower. So I'll make a roll.
That's a 10.
That's well, I'll probably get about 14. That means hang on just a minute. That'll do. Let's make a roll. Here we go. Oh, right. So, first opening session. First of all, we do have a refresh, so you can refresh your fate points. So your fate points are up to full. If you have got any stress, I'm going to say that your stress is cleared. So your stress is back to full, but your fate points are back. So your difficulty is 11. You only got 10. Do you want to spend a fate point?
Yeah, I could. I mean, I could. I think I could just use it to invoke an aspect like insults are an art form, maybe. Something.
Yeah. I think.
And then get a +2 if I understand correctly.
It's exactly right. So you had a 12. So you beat him by 1. His composure will drop by 1. I'll make a note of that. But the key thing is although he is absolutely doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is surveying the scene, he does turn to you and say, he says to you, well, let me just get rid of Gwyn. Gwyn is not. So let's have Istan. He sort of looks at you. Says, I don't remember seeing you. And I'm sure I wouldn't miss you in that dress.
That is a blatant lie. So yeah, but yeah, okay.
So he is distracted, and he's looking in your way, and something about crowd sizes or something. It just immediately triggered him, and he just couldn't help himself. He had to look your way. And so it is. At that moment, Lupus makes a leap, theoretically, for Blethyn. Blethyn, would you like to give me some kind of, I'm going to say, agility test or something? Just to see how... Or indeed, what are you going to do? Sorry, tell me what you're going to do.
I was thinking, that Lupus guy is rather heavy. And the king is sitting in this large throne-like...
Yeah.
I think I would like to actually... basically use the energy. That Lupus guy is rather heavy. Spend on jumping towards me and just direct the king is sitting in the seat of the king. And that when he crashes into the king, that might do enough damage.
Okay.
But agility sounds good for that.
Okay, let's do it. Make me a roll.
Close combat, I think, is the better choice.
It is kind of combat related, so that's good.
So let's see.
Apparently we are live, by the way. I can't even tell if I'm live or not. Thank you, Archer Colin. You can tell I don't even know if I'm live or not.
We're on Twitch.
Yeah.
Oh, gracious. I'm twitching, certainly. Oh, 12, that's an amazing... Blethin, just narrate for us what happens.
Well, in best martial art way, like not like these lumbering brutes you're used to here. I'll just dive a little down and throw the heavy lupus through the air, and unfortunately, the poor king and his share are right in the way of it.
Absolutely, and so there's a sudden crash, and there's a huge exclamation from the crowd as they see what's happened. The guards are like statues; they haven't moved. They're just starting to think. Such was your speed. I'm gonna get rid of my roll. I'm gonna do another roll. I think I'm gonna go to. Let's go to here. So I'm going to just see how effective that was. I'm going to give a +2 as effective. You've created an aspect. In fact, I'm going to call it a boost. It's a boost. It's an ephemeral aspect that lasts just for this moment. And Blethin, you've created one called Wolf Missile. Let's just see how that plays out against that. So that's 11, and that's 11, and the difficulty is going to be that. So let's just see how that plays out. 6. So immediately King Caradoc takes 5 stress damage as Lupus lands literally in the throne and on him. At this point, Istan notices what has happened and is whirling round and drawing his blade. What do you all do?
I think I'll just jump behind it and snarl at Ishtan, "This is my kill." And pretend that I want to grab Lupus, but I see if I can sneak in like something to even further damage the king.
Okay, you could do that. Kasna, what are you doing?
I'm just trying to create more chaos by screaming out loud in surprise and terror. Okay,
so you're causing a consternation. I'm going to assume, Decius, that Emilius has said, "I'll sort things out," and you've just re-emerged into the side of what's going on, and you can now survey the scene that we've just described. How do you want to act?
I will step forward towards the fray, but I'll leave my gladius where it is in its sheath. But I'll keep an eye on this bodyguard type.
Right. Okay.
Protect
so you
the
step.
princess,
yes.
maybe.
Yeah. So Gwennifer has, with more composure than you might expect, has sort of basically wheeled to the right and got out of the way. Her action is just to get out of the way, and she's doing that quite effectively. I'm going to say that the following things happen. Oh well, first of all, Kasna, I think your consternation has sort of caught the eye of Istan, but Istan's main task now is he's going to try to attack Blethin. but he's distracted. So, do you want to make me, Blethyn, some sort of defense test? It can be agility, it could be close combat, and see what number you get. That is my difficulty, basically. Let's see what I do. Oh, fucking hell! Excuse my language.
Oh.
Okay, actually, he had a difficulty 2, so he's on a 12. And you're on a 10, so he does succeed, unless you want to spend a fate point and maybe invoke an aspect.
Or re-roll, maybe.
Or maybe re-roll. And you can do that without invoking aspect. You can just spend a fate point and roll those dice.
I'll spend a fate point. Oops. I'll spend a fate point and I'll re-roll.
Okay. So it's actually 12 is the difficulty you're facing. 12. It's a tie. An on attack and a tie. It's not a success. What Istan does...
point to make it turn in my favor?
You can. Your close combat skill is 5, so actually you can have a maximum of +6 as a bonus to your rolls. You can definitely invoke an aspect. What would you like to invoke?
Okay. Aspects.
And that's all you need.
Then I think I'll use the power and the rage of the wolf.
Okay. So suddenly you become, you transform. This catches Istan completely by surprise, meaning that what would have been a hit is now a miss, and his blade just swings completely wide. Lupus gouges out the throat of King Caradoc. That is Lupus's action. Istan belatedly realizes that he's been distracted by this bard, and secondly, he's been distracted by this, what turns out to be another werewolf. I mean, 1, unlikely. 2, how did that happen?
Like a bus, right?
I think so. I think there's probably going to be a 3rd now, because the Celts believe everything significant happens in 3s. So, we'll see what happens.
Now let the brother of the king be a werewolf as well, and then we have a conspiracy. You know,
I'm doing a lot of Skyrim at the moment. He's either a werewolf or he's a vampire. We'll have to see which he is. So, in fact, speaking of his brother, Decius, you can probably make out this other noble who has a slight resemblance to King Caradoc, but perhaps is younger. Around him, there is formed up. And it's your military eye that spots this. Around him forms effectively 3 or 4 of his men. One of them's a woman, as it happens. So his warriors have formed around him to form like a protective shield. And as he sees the spurting of blood on the throne, as Lupus rips out the throat of, he claims his brother. Decius, you notice that he doesn't seem at all fazed by this. If anything, there is perhaps it is 3, because it's a wolfish grin seems to have sort of spread across his face as he looks at what has happened.
I think it's our turn to bow to the new king, I think.
Possibly.
The king is dead. Long live the king.
The king is dead. Lupus. So we're gonna finish this round and turn it around. Blethyn, you've got your sort of in wolf form. You've suddenly transformed. I think a lot of people are trying to leave the hall now as these fey creatures are now appearing from everywhere, it seems. What do you wish to do?
Remembering my oath, I would like to wrestle the blade from Ishtar.
Right.
So that
Why would you do that? I mean, yeah, do it anyways. But I'm
And what will you
afraid-
do, Kaznar, while this is happening?
Yeah.
While this...
So I would actually I would try to go to our princess.
Yes,
and-
she's scampering back, and she's actually drawn a knife.
And I think I will have to make a loud proclamation. I think now it's the time to proclaim
Kaznar, what's
something.
happening? What's happening?
I think I would say that it seems like the old gods have spoken. Long live new king. And what was his name?
Gwyn
Gwyn.
ap Caradoc.
I think that's the appropriate thing to do. Seize the opportunity.
Very well, she says. She sort of hides behind a table, which has been overturned. A couple of the guards come to you, Decius. They sort of turn, spot you, and head in your direction. They don't appear to be heading in your direction in a sort of an offensive way, as it were. They just seem to be literally sort of heading in your direction with a sort of frightened and quizzical expression on their faces. Blethin, if you could give me a close combat check, please, to see how well you wrestle with Ishtan, who... It's me, so it's going to be a horrendous... Not very well.
no,
I say that. But just wait for my roll, because it's going to be at least a 27 or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's fairly average. It's an 8. Oh, it's 8-8. So, all right, so it's a tie. You have a boost, which is probably... I would say you've got like an aspect, a scene aspect now, which is something like entangled. So although you haven't wrestled the sword from him, you're kind of entangled with Ishtan, and you're sort of literally wrestling, and his eyes are bulging, and he's sort of, you can see his, as your faces are close together, he's looking at your, what is now your expanded sort of teeth and canine, and looking rather nervously at the way you're sort of growling at him. But you are basically locked and entangled, and he is unable to do anything at present. On a tie, you're just basically done. The proclamation is about to come, but before that, the guards will say, Commander, what should we do? And they sort of look at you, Decius, as if to say, you were giving the orders before. What happens now? That creature's killed the king.
Yeah, keep away from it. It's unholy creature. Make sure that his brother is safe over there.
Yes, of course. Protect his brother. Protect Gwyn ap Caradoc. And you can see sort of the uncertain guards sort of starting to form up to support Gwyn's own retinue. Lupus has leapt over the throne, leaving the sort of corpse of the king on the throne, and is now loping away off to an entrance to the hall, with a crowd parting, screaming to either side of him as he sort of moves with supernatural speed towards the exit. He stops and turns at the top of the stairs just before perhaps Kaznar has something to say, and he sort of just nods and then lopes out of the hall. Kaznar.
Yeah, I think I will raise my voice as loud as possible and say, I don't know, something like, the old gods have spoken, protect the new king, long live King Gwyn. whatever. Yeah. So,
And those hardier souls who have stayed in the hall and haven't immediately fled, of which there are a fair number, although they are almost wrapped with horror because it's all happened very, very quickly. Make me a roll.
yes.
Make me a roll. I'm going to say it's difficulty. It's probably overall that's going on. I'm going to say it's a difficulty 9.
Okay. So I think, I mean, I'm a bardic ambassador to the king or to a king. So I think my word should have some weight. So I would invoke that aspect as well.
You can, if you wish to do that up front. You can certainly see what your result is.
Okay, but I will do it nevertheless.
You'll do it anyway. Throw it in. That's a +2. You can add that as a buff.
Yeah, so as a buff, I can say
A couple of the guards have formed a bit of have attached themselves to you, Decius, as well, as if they are actually sort of looking to guard your personage.
Yeah. Okay, let's see how we fare. So 16.
Okay, well that's a special success. It's 5 more than you needed, which was 9. So you create an aspect in the room, which is a calm descends. I'm going to say, unless you'd like to call it something else, there's a calm that descends from your voice. Your voice reverberates around the hall, and there's basically there is almost a silent. All that can be heard is the gurgling, the final death gurgling of King Caradoc.
Yeah,
and this sort of and the sort of struggle between Ishtan and Blethenat Med. I think what will happen is Ishtan will push you back a little bit, Blethin, and he starts to sort of step away gradually, trying to get out of your way. I don't know if Marcel's still here, but if so, that's what's happening. And he's trying to get some distance from you. So you've got an opportunity to do something, Blethin, if you wish, but he's clearly sort of stepping away. He's kind of seeing what's happened. And his eyes flick to King Caradoc, gurgling, spurting on his throne, and then looks back to you very quickly with the blade sort of still in his hand.
Drop that blade.
He drops it. She drops it. Just ding! The blade hits the stone floor, and it's the only thing that can be heard. It's not quite a pin drop. It was a sword drop. Or he did a mic drop. I don't know. But anyway, it goes ka-ting off the floor. And it sort of probably the camera lingers on it a little bit too long. The lighting's good. And the blade sort of clatters down a couple of steps as if indicating there's been a change. Something has happened. And he sort of steps away and he sort of holds his hands up and he looks slightly placatingly at you as this giantish warrior steps back nervously.
I'll let him step back.
He steps away, and you can see him now looking towards Gwyn. Let's get rid of Ishtan for a second. He sort of looks towards Gwyn and sort of bows slightly to Gwyn, as if to say, "Wasn't me, Gov." And I suppose it's Gwyn that will probably step forward at this point as he looks around. Terrible affair, he says. Terrible affair. A gladiator of Fey blood let loose. Killed my brother. And he'll go up to his brother at this point, just making sure he's dead properly. See? And
it's a shocking turn of events.
I would not have thought that this moment of celebration would be such a tragedy. How on earth did this happen? I did say to him that there was enough bloodshed, and now the king's blood has been shed. One of the things I do with roll, just to step in, is I quite like to have the character I'm playing as one of the video boxes. So it's sort of, he's sort of sat amongst us. What I've asked them to do is, could I just like immediately add him to the video boxes rather than having to display an image and then minimize him so he's in a video box. Anyway, it's by the by. But anyway, better workflow for me. But so he looks at you and says, he looks at you appraisingly. I think it probably looks at you, Cassio, initially. I
mean, I would do my bows or whatever this courtly manners now. I don't know what is expected from an ambassador to act like to the new king. I mean, he isn't crowned yet, but I would approach him like the king.
Yeah, I mean, there's some deference. He has a higher status than you, but he isn't a king, or perhaps he's about to be.
Yeah.
But you can see some of the guards that are around him, the warriors around him, are nervous, and so they watch you they're watching you very closely. The swords are not drawn, but they sort of slightly interpose so that you can't get too close. And he sort of waves them, and he doesn't wave them away. He says, "It's all right. It's all right." So this has all happened most portentously. A battle. We have had a gladiatorial contest in the hall, and we have these strangers in our midst. Those that have come from the north. They're not of Siluria or Caelion. And yet all this has happened when you have been here. I have been travelling out in the west. I came just as the battle was closing. We fought well. But what has brought you here? An ill omen, perhaps? Some portentous omen from the gods?
So I would just point at our princess. This Princess Guinevere came here to be a queen. That was what our mission was. And that is what our mission still is.
His eyes flick towards the beauteous Guinevere, and a smile starts to half form on his face, which he quickly but too slowly drops and continues to look somewhat intensely at you. Well, a queen, you say? Guinevere, then, from Urba Legionis. An alliance, perhaps, from Agricola?
Yes, and that is what we're here to propose.
Well, I might consider that, he says. I might consider that. Yes, that might be just what's needed. A new king and a bride and an alliance all in one day. Very well. I shall take your bride. He smiles. I shall take your bride, and we shall have this alliance, and we shall see what happens. Guinevere's looking at you sort of slightly, she slightly nervously, and his attention now switches to Guinevere. You know, he seems done with you, and he says, bride, so you shall of course be well courted and well prepared. You are indeed, your beauty I have heard of, and the stories are as nothing to what I see. he says. He smiles and looks around proudly at the crowd that have stayed, despite the bloodshed.
Well, we had better get the lady to her room.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. And we should have a couple of days just to write things. I have, and he sort of looks rather dismissively at the sort of crumpled corpse of his brother. Says, I have a few things to attend to, he says, and smiles back. And then, yes, we shall have the wedding in a few days, I think. Unless you have any particular requirements.
I would just maybe have a word with you in a more less formal setting. Would I say something like that?
Of course. Clear the room, he says. Clear the room. And prepare my brother for burial. Take him out. He'll be buried in a... Well, I'm going to say he's going to be buried in a Christian burial, I think. So...
I'm going out on a limb and say this guy's not a good guy. I'm saying that to myself.
Yeah, that's... We are not either, like so, I mean, come on.
Oh, we are. All in the best possible...
It's possible taste.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna. So he's actually going to depart. He's going to depart with his brother, and he sort of he doesn't give his brother a second look, but he sort of commands that he's taken out. Somebody comes from nowhere and starts to clean the throne. Just starts sort of mopping it down. But he sort of whisks off and departs. Until later, he says, and he and his retinue depart from the hall. Kind of actually sort of, he says, and Kasnar, yes, we shall speak, but give me a moment to grieve. He smiles.
Yes, obviously. I would totally agree and nod. That's.
And so they leave. And they kind of leave you in this sort of airy, shadow-strewn hall. Central fire is still flickering away. The tables are still half covered in food and drink from what was going to be a feast. And there's just one figure, sort of looking a bit sheepish, just cleaning the throne, looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he says, all right, just gotta clean this throne.
I think we should go to the room of Our Lady and just talk there. I think that's more appropriate.
Okay, you can do that. You can head off with Gwennifer to her chambers somewhere in the main hall. Well, I didn't expect that, she said. Didn't expect that.
Yeah, we didn't actually either. So, so he is definitely a king, I'd say.
Oh, it looks like he's going to be, doesn't it?
He will be a very powerful and cunning ruler.
I think he will.
Yeah.
I can't weigh him up yet, but he seems very focused on what he's doing.
Yeah. I mean, the only question I now have is: does he really want an alliance with us, or has he won already?
I don't know. I don't know much of him. I heard that he had a family. I didn't know much about who they were. I can't weigh him up. I don't know what his intentions are. I don't think they're very good, by the way. But he seems a little bit more focused than his older brother, put it that way. At least from what I could see in those moments.
I think it would be overly suspicious if another king dies today.
Oh,
a special 2-for-1 offer.
Yeah. Yeah. I suspect people will be on their guard as well.
Yes. No, I think we so. I'm not sure. Dekius, what do you say?
Taking this man down looks, even by our standards, he seems ruthless. As you say, he may be effective, but will he make a good neighbor?
And the good thing is he is not our neighbor in a way. But will he be a menace to those between us? That's the question.
We don't know his motives, other than potentially self-centeredness. He's certainly not a family man.
Seem to be.
Yeah, come on, but with this family. But I
It'd
wonder.
be hard he's obviously got his security on point.
I mean, if we wanted to, we could call it treason and have the people rile against him. But why should we? We came here to find a kingdom, and I think now we found one.
Yeah. That, but we should ask the princess what she thinks.
I'm not sure about, but is Kazna really so concerned what the princess thinks? And is Dekios? I mean, it's somehow her
Dekios
father that was important, isn't it?
I don't know. You could play it either way.
Yeah. No, it's just I think we had a mission to come here, and in a way we succeeded with our mission. The only thing that is now I think important is to find out whether this new king is somehow in cahoots with the former enemy, because it is a little bit suspicious that he was traveling and just comes back after the battle has been done.
Fortuitous.
Yeah, that's very fortuitous.
Or indeed not. He missed the glory.
Yeah, I understand.
The thing about, if you remember, so with Gwennifer, and in your initial meet with Gwennifer, at least in this situation, Agricola was quite put out, really. He was frustrated that his daughter was so headstrong that she decided that she wanted to assess the value of the man for committing herself to a marriage. Agricola, obviously, it seemed to quickly agree. But I think Agricola's desire was basically just to have cemented some kind of alliance with somebody at this difficult, pretentious time. But he did seem to want Gwennifer to have her say, because he knows that if that doesn't happen, she will have her say anyway, and it could not go well. So that's kind of what you did. So in terms of what your view of Gwennifer, that's entirely up to you. But that's the context, and you know that she's going to want to assess this new brother just as much as Caradoc. Strong arm.
Yeah, I mean, we could also make it a case about the dowry. So I mean, come on.
I appreciate you're a rational man like me, but of course, how the future queen feels about her new role may have implications later.
So, I mean, maybe if we cleared this up, so I could address her and say, well, it seems like there's a new suitor, and probably a one more apt to rule a kingdom in some ways.
I think so. I think so.
So I think the same still stays. Still, if you are here, you would rule next to him, and your children will rule this kingdom after he's gone.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about him, though.
We don't either. So, by the way, he isn't married, so that's...
No.
That's good. That's fortunate.
Very well. All right. He's got more about him, certainly, than Caradoc.
I think he might be not only be a worthwhile ally of our nation, but also, or of our kingdom. I think we don't are a nation, but also I think he might be a partner worthy of your stature.
Maybe. Gonna place Guinevere's image. Let me just find her. There she is. Just add her to the list of images. So I was just adding an image behind the scenes. Let me just do my usual. So let's see what passes. Let's see what happens. We have a few days. We don't need to rush into this, do we? Perhaps find out a little bit more about him in the next few days and make a decision at that point. There is a funeral to be had. And at this point, the sun has set. It is night. The moon is rising. And somewhere over the hills beyond Caerleon can be heard the cry and howl of a wolf. So, you can all have an additional fate point.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've spent any, you can gain one back. I will make my assessment of him, Kaznar, and I will see what I think. But he does seem a strong one. There's more about him, certainly. We shall just have to see. It is difficult to gauge. Perhaps the actions that he takes over the next few days will determine what happens. So the night passes, and Guinevere says, "I'm tired. I should retire."
All these murders, got no more time for it.
No. I don't think it's going to be the last either, she says, somehow.
So, but there's no one coming for Blethen and trying to get rid of him because he was somehow involved in this business.
No, I think even though he was a king, the right man died. That's your impression. Nobody seems to be casting many of a tear at the loss of Caradoc. But what's happening? Well, let's see what you pick up. Maybe if people could give me a notice check, just so I'm going to sort of change scene to effectively the early hours or the early hours of the morning. No, in fact, it is the morning. It is the morning, and we'll just see what you pick up from the sort of streets of Caerleon, the movement in the Great Hall. Lethin, some of the I think it'd probably be maybe some of the soldiers will. One of them will come to you and say, "You fought really well. You seem sorry to say this," and he sort of looks a bit nervously at you, really, and says, "But you seem so normal. You seem like us, like people." Did you upset the gods? Maybe you did.
Marcel, I think you're muted.
Sometimes it seems that the gods have a very unique form of humor.
Yeah, I can believe that. I can believe that. So the stories would tell us. You need to watch yourself, Lethin. In these streets, in this city. Now that Gwyn is to be king, there's a lot to happen, but he will have his eye on you. He's got a very sharp eye. You just take care. I'm just saying. And if the gods have smiled or laughed at you, well, you're still here, aren't you? So that tells us something, right? Mm-hmm. And the guard will sort of step away slightly nervously and smile and nod and just say, "Look out. Look out."
You too. Thanks.
And it heads off. Decius, you meet Marius. Again, trouble is, I haven't got the image of Marius, or have I? Let's just... So, it looks as though I may be the commander of armies for Siluria now.
Indeed, quite a shocking event. But who is his brother? This appearing at the last minute. I am not familiar with him.
You have amongst you a wolf, yes.
Indeed.
So do we. He's called Gwyn ap Caradoc. And by wolf, of course, I mean he can be a little bit of a loner. He's strong. He's got a good eye. He's often in the right place at the right time. He's never really got on with his brother. I would not be telling tales if I was to say that. He's a cunning one, is our Gwyn. Never says very much. He always watches. Such is his way.
And what does he value?
What does he value? Up to now, it seems to me, he's valued always being the one that's in the right place, largely at the expense of his brother. And I think he's had it easy. I don't think he realises
that's come to the end of the road.
Exactly. He knows his step up. I'll be fascinated, interested to see how that plays out. He's a difficult one to judge, but he does have plenty of friends.
Oh yes. If he's away so much, how does he manage that?
he enjoys playing court as brother to the king. He has friends in a number of places. He sort of let's bring out the image for a second. He says, yeah, he's not only Siluria, but also in Difford, off to the west. Carfithin, he has friends there. And he has friends also in Viriconium, to the north. Occasionally, he also travels to Caia Glui, or as the Romans would have called it, Glevum, Gloucester, off to the east.
Gloucester. I have not heard of this place.
And so he has played court to the north, to the west, and to the east, perhaps preparing for, well, maybe even this moment, which has fallen so unexpectedly.
A man of ambition.
Well, man of ambition. It seems strange to me that he has wanted this so much, and then it's all suddenly fallen into place when a bride has arrived. That seems fortuitous even for him, who has played his cards, plays his hands so very carefully over these years. But as I say, comfortably, as brother of the king, power behind the throne perhaps, but no longer behind the throne. Now it seems to be on the throne, and I am to be, well, his commander.
Well, we live in interesting times, that's just for sure.
Indeed.
He seems quite... He could really change the balance of the land.
I think he will. And so it is. I have things that I have to arrange, but I would just say to you, things will change here now. Things will definitely change with him on the throne. He will look to keep me very, very busy. And he sort of nods and sort of heads off, and you can hear him barking orders to command to start. It appears raising forces, raising an army. He seems to be going off to raise an army. He's busy sort of calling for the muster and to travel out into the steads and the villages, the settlements around Carleon. Busy man. Funerals to have as well. Marius heads off. And there is a funeral. It's actually a Christian burial. And it's very low key. There's very few people there. You've been invited. As is Gwennifer. There's a small guard attachment. There is a priest. A Christian priest, who is laying out the rites, speaking and calling in Latin. It's actually a Brittonic Latin, so it is Latin, but it's got a mix, bit of a mix. It's very much a sort of Brittani Latin. It wouldn't go down well in Rome, I don't think. Well, maybe it would, but certainly it's a priest. And there might be sort of a slightly Gaelic Irish twang to his voice. You can pick up. He's possibly from Ireland, but he's a priest nevertheless, and he undertakes the rites. And there is a burial, and you can see that his brother Gwyn ap Caradoc is impassive throughout, completely impassive.
So, do we know if his brother is Christian or?
No, you don't. You can probably find that out. He is apparently Christian, or at least he apparently has undertaken conversion.
Something like
quite
that.
recently.
Yeah. So, but this kingdom is formally Christian, maybe, but many are still believing in the old gods.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. It's kind of a blend. The surface would be Christian, but underneath it's slightly more.
Yeah.
And so it is King Caradoc, who when we started this was going to be a very happy husband and continue watching gladiatorial contests and ruling his kingdom very poorly, but with a very nice bride, is now in the ground, buried. And buried according to the Christian rites. I'm guessing the burial would take place outside the city, in a sort of formal place, just outside the walls. There hasn't been much done to dress that up. It's just been done. And Gwyn would turn to you and say, so that formality is out of the way. Tomorrow I shall be invested as king. And then, well, we can get on with the wedding. I would wish to spend some time with Gwennifer, if I may, just to speak with her before our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Is that acceptable to you? You said.
Obviously.
Good. That's fine then. Have her taken to my hall. Have her summoned to my hall. I will see her there.
Mm-hmm. So can we speak a little?
Kasnar, yes, you wish to speak to me. We did not have opportunity. There's been such a lot going on, and he sort of kicks the dirt slightly, and some of it just sort of splashes against the sort of stone grave of his brother. Yes.
So
Kasnar ap Cartival of Urba Legio. Such a long way away. You've travelled so far.
Mm-hmm. So, excuse me to be frank here. So I guess I'm not sure whether we almost ruined a party, but I think everything turned out in a good way, didn't it?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, you're sort of starting to bring him in, or are you? Could you make me a charm? Have you got charm?
A charm? I have charm. No, is there a charm skill? So I have.
What do you have? You got performance, presumably.
Performance, insight, provoke, deceive.
So charm isn't your thing. So I think it will be insight for you.
Okay.
I'll give you an insight check.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to see if you can. Well, that's pretty good. Let's just see how you compare to me, though.
Yeah. It's only a 9, so I mean, come on, I can't roll. So it's a 6 at least. So it's 10. I'm sorry. Oh yeah.
Well, I get a 6. So he's taken in. He seems to warm to your words and says, I'm it's a great shame that my brother had to die so suddenly.
Yeah. I'm from what I heard, you were already like somehow kind of ambassador of your kingdom before.
I spoke for my brother, indeed, in the courts around here. These are difficult times.
Yes. So
there's talk of the Saxons encroaching ever more westward, and their gods and their ways, and there will be more battles to come. So we need to be ready for them.
Yes.
Caerleon needs to be ready for them.
As does Urbe Legionis.
Yes, I suppose so.
So there is only this slight thing. So I think you have to win our princess over a little bit. She can be very headstrong. If she warms to you, she will be the perfect queen and support you and will.
I see.
Bring
words of advice, Kazdar. Words of advice. Yes.
Will not only bring joy to you, but also to your kingdom. I'm sure.
She's very pretty, isn't she?
She's pretty, but also she's very clever
Clever.
and a good. Sometimes she can. I think she could be a useful person to have in court. Useful, especially to someone as clever as you are, obviously.
Oh, I think she will definitely have her uses. Yes. Yes. Good. Yes, I know. I shall take your words, and that will help. Thank you. I'm sure I can smooth the way.
Yes, and
smooth words. Yes. I understand.
Yeah. So, by the way, I heard you're raising an army.
Now is the time. We need to sort of test our metal, having pushed. Yes, I know the general who came to the south. I know who he was. He wanted more than he really should have taken. So it is good that he has been defeated. And it'll play well for us that he was defeated.
So just to say this in the best possible way, I think you're making the wise choice of allies here with us.
Yes, that's right. He says, and he sort of.
So, and as far as I know in history, no one has won this two-side kind of battle. So, if powers got too eager to fight, then we will be able to get them from both sides, I suppose.
I hear what you're saying. Yes, that could well be the case. Difficult times.
Very difficult times. But yeah. I think you're. I think you're yet you're also not becoming. You also became a masterful diplomat and a masterful observer and ruler.
The time will come soon where you will be able to send messages back to Urbe Legionis, but first we have some formalities to sort out, and I shall have. What was your advice? Sweet words, was it? Sweet words for Gwen.
Yes, I suppose.
I shall give her sweet words.
Yes. So I think Kasnal likes this guy. I mean, he's obviously not a good guy, but I think he's the material to be a king.
Let's see how he charms Gwenifar, shall we? It's not necessarily his strong suit.
Maybe, I mean, even I would actually. I mean, couldn't I just give him some kind of advice in form of some kind of? I mean, I would even give him sponsor him a fate point to have him win her over.
If effectively, you can create an aspect called. What would you call it?
I would call it bardic inspiration. No, that would be.
You could do that. Or we could make it a scene aspect, which is something like. I
mean, I would know something about
knowing
her.
Gwenifar. It's about knowing Gwenifar. So you would basically give them some tips, some pointers, and so that 8 becomes a 10. There is a tense feeling, Blethyn and Decius. There's a tense feeling in the streets of Caerleon. it's just a sense that people are waiting for something else to happen. It's like it's not over. There's been a battle. The king is dead. Fey creatures are loose and wild somewhere around the city. Powys armies. There's just more to come, and so you just get this sense, people being on their guard. Probably on more than one occasion, Blethin, you could see people looking in your direction and hurriedly getting out of your way. And for you, Decius, a sense that there's a marshalling of forces, and Marius seems busy sort of bringing in new recruits and signing weapons, some of it from the spoils of the battle that took place. And that army that was perhaps 300 or 400 has now become nearer 600. And there is drilling going on in what was the gladiatorial amphitheatre. Has been taken over for the drilling of new recruits for this army, this band. And Marius seems to be sort of undertaking this, checking out the quality of the forces. Gwyn ap Caradoc is made king the following day. And it's a simple, very quick ceremony. Again, the priest is there to, having buried one king, he's investing in another. Carleon is a new king. That all happened very quickly. I'm just going to see. It's on a 10. Let's look at Gwennifer. Let's just see what she makes of him. You've given him the best advice you can, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope she has no grudge against her father.
You don't think she has. You don't sense that she has. Here she is. Oh, okay. Let's just see how she. I'll make it a notice test rather than a willpower. Let's just see how she does against a 10. She will come to you, possibly. Actually, she might come to you, Decius. Okay. I think. And Blethin, you could certainly be there. I think she's probably trying to tap into your straightforward, almost dispassionate, cold look at the way of the world. And she says, I've seen slightly through. I mean, 11 plays a 10, so it's close. I've seen slightly through this this Gwyn ap Caradoc. He has sweet words. He seems suddenly to understand me better than I would have expected so quickly. Maybe it's just what is meant to be, and it is what my father wishes. He's certainly better than Caradoc. There's no doubt about that. Strong arm, as he was called. I would just seek your judgment before I commit to this ceremony, which will take place, I am understood, the following day. And Blethin, your eyes see things that others do not. Anything that you can say Kaznar seems very for it. He seems very keen. Kaznar's always got an eye for the bigger picture, perhaps, but I just wondered what you thought I should do.
That's a tricky one. He seems a capable man.
He does.
A man of action. A ruthless man.
Yes, I can see that in him. But these are difficult times, as everyone is saying. Perhaps ruthless is what is needed.
He seems to be centered on his own. I'm not sure his ambition for the country, for his kingdom, or anything. I suspect he is a man whose ambition is for himself. And I wonder how much you can influence him.
Yes. This has to seal an alliance. It has to at least achieve that, for my father at least. Very well, I shall take that on guidance. Blethin, is there anything that you have seen or anything that you think that might add to what Decius has told me?
No, I think he expressed it very well.
Very well. Thank you, Blethin. Very well then. Let us see what we will be. I shall pray, and maybe I shall also get guidance. So it is. So what I'm going to say is that we have an invested king, and some time passes, and there is to be a brief ceremony where the new king will take a bride, will take Gwennifer as his bride. And it is almost a perfunctory ceremony. But what you note is that Gwyn ap Caradoc definitely makes a good showing of things on the day. He speaks of the future of Caerleon. He speaks of alliances. He speaks of friends further afield who will ensure that our kingdom will survive in these times. It is a time of great import, and with my bride, my queen, we will guide this kingdom to a future that will be strong. And the sort of higher nobility, the higher status people who've gathered for this quite somber ceremony sort of applaud that this is what is being said, and there's a good hum to the room. And then when the ceremony is completed, Gwyn will come to you three and say, well, thank you. You may depart now. Return to Agricola and let him know what has taken place, that I have married his daughter, and we shall visit when the time is right and when we can. But for now, let him know that Caerleon acknowledges Urbe Legionis, and we wish you a safe journey back to your king. And he sort of motions. And, some guards will sort of basically escort you from the chamber.
We're going to have trouble with this one.
You can see in the vaulted hall, just above, probably Blethin and Decius, you'll both make this out as you're leaving. Probably Casno, you turn and look at him, and he's got sort of a slightly quixotic smile on his face. You can see Gwennifer, who is watching you leave from one of the vaulted halls. She's looking down upon you as you go, and she waves. And you are escorted effectively from the city, and you start to head north. Or do you? What do you want to do?
Well, we'll be popular up north.
Oh, well, we are still alive. That's a plus. One that I did not expect.
You have low ambition, Kevin.
Yeah, actually, you can say a lot about me, but not that my ambition lacks. Yeah, so...
What were you shooting for? Not dead.
Do we want to make another ally on the way?
In between, you mean?
Yes, I think there's a certain wolf to be found and have made a deal with.
One more ally like this, and we shall be ruined.
No, but yeah. So I think I think we have left town and we can speak freely amongst ourselves. Yep. So I think what will happen is Gwyn was having a deal with Viconium. They should attack the city and he would make himself king. But we brushed in, which happened to be a good thing for him because Viconium was not actually treating the deal like he did foresee. That is at least my understanding. So they would have taken a lot more than they were supposed to have. So instead of making him king and just getting rid of the king, we made him king. And I think he will not forget us.
And that may well be the case. So, are you going to head north and back to Agricola?
Yeah, I mean, do we have a chance? So I think Lupus told us that he was somehow from the Fey lands of Powers. So
yes,
I guess that's the same area in a way. I mean, I understand this is a large area where Blethen is also from.
Yeah.
So maybe we could find him actually if we wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's have a scene that does that. So as you head north, you are tracked for a while. And when you're a sort of quite a safe way away from Caerleon, several days to the north, probably following that trail that heads, that road that heads north, Lupus emerges ahead of you and lopes up to you in your direction and stops. So, it is done. Then your task is done.
Yes,
so.
It is. And also your task is done. You're free now.
I am free.
Do you still have allegiance with Viconium?
Viconium? No. And the lady, she calls me, so I will go to her.
So The new king is afraid that the Saxons will march into Siluria Powys.
Oh, yes. He is afraid of many things, is that one. That's why he's so clever. He at least sees the threats, unlike his brother, who saw nothing. That's what I heard.
Yeah, that is what I feel as well. So I don't know what's going to come in these times, but it might be helpful to remember that it was the people of, or it was us from Urbe Legionis that helped you at a certain point in time, and maybe it will be beneficial to work together in the future.
Yes, I'm sure. And I will tell my lady that you have done many, many things in the mortal realm, and that you are to be watched very carefully now, because while the humans in the mortal realm fight as they do, so we will watch from the Fey realms. And we will bide our time too.
As you should, as you should.
Very well. Well, you travel safely, as will I. And he sort of bows, and then he sort of starts to lope off. And you can see that he lopes off around a small copse of trees in which there is a mist forming, as if it's welling up from the ground around him. And he sort of turns and he sort of snarls slightly at you, just as if he's sort of, maybe that's him saying goodbye. But as he walks, as he lopes off, you see that the ground beneath his feet starts to change as he heads into the sort of mist-strewn copse of trees. And the ground is made up of flowers that seem to sprout where he walks, forming a canopy of sort of a carpet of wildflowers. And he heads off and vanishes into the mist that has welled up from this copse of trees. So, I assume you head north and look to avoid things and get back to Agricola. Very good. Well, you do that, and you're received by the king, King Agricola. Recount your story. Well, how do you recount your story? Perhaps let's just work out what it is the three of you want to say. He's very keen. He sort of calls you and says, "Well, you have returned without her. I'm taking that is good news. Do we have an alliance?"
Yes.
Though I confess...
Decius.
I suspect that king has only an alliance with himself.
I think that's a misjudge of character.
You do not sound between you very sure.
So the former king died, as you may have get noticed. So the new king is not really. It's not clear how good a king he will be, but let's say he will surely be a better king than his brother was.
On that we agree.
Very well.
Will he be the best alliance we could possibly have had. I don't know. But I think he is an enemy of powers who are an enemy of us. So that makes our alliance stronger. And he is someone who can deal with other kings as well.
I see.
And most importantly, your daughter agreed to choose him.
Indeed. I will trust her and her judgment and her abilities. And we will see how this plays out. My thanks to the three of you for undertaking what was quite a difficult, I'm sure, journey through dangerous lands. Only time will tell how this will play out. But I will confess that the halls here seem cold and seem dark and seem lifeless without Gwennifer. I trust all will be well. I will have further things for you to do, the three of you. But for now, you need to rest. And we will see how this plays out. Thank you very much. We'll probably put a hold on there. Your characters at this point will get an experience, an advancement thing that you can do, which it's called a minor advancement in between. So you can gain sort of like an additional level 1 in a skill, I think, something like that. Or indeed you can swap your aspects if you want a different aspect from the ones that you have. You can do things like that. So that's kind of how the advancement works in the game. This is a kind of a play test a bit of the second edition of the game. Still working a little bit on the rules. We're going to do some work on the setting. I'll call this out live while we're being streamed. I don't think it really matters, but hopefully you won't mind if I will include your names in the playtest credits for the book.
Delighted.
At some point, the book will probably happen. Eventually, I'll get around to it. But great. And so, for those to quote those listening at home, thank you very much for joining us for our little foray into early medieval times, Dark Ages, sub-Roman Britain.
I think it's the earliest medieval times, so you can't be earlier.
Very early. It's a classical antiquities. I don't know. And until next time, the Thursday nighters get together. Thank you very much, and we will see you another time. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.